We're going to feature one of those honorary captains tomorrow, and it's Ken Roberts. As I take just a minute to say congratulations to you. Welcome back to Tuscaloosa. I hope you're doing well, sir.
Thank you. I'm doing just fine.
Well, and we're excited to have you guys back in Tuscaloosa and try to reflect on the first season under Coach Paul Bear Bryant. I thank you for joining us and helping us out today.
You're quite welcome. It's my pleasure.
All right, so when I say 1958, that first season, kind of help us share some memories with us as we reflect on that season.
Well, the first thing is that everything changed quickly, having to do with the football program. So when he got in there, the first thing he did is get us up in the upstairs gym, and that's people won't know where that is, but anyway, we were up there all during January and finals and so forth. We did that until spring training started. Then we had 5 weeks of spring training, and things were absolutely different, no doubt about it.
So now you were one of the very few players, at my understanding, when we do some research, that made it from Coach Whitworth to Coach Paul Bear Bryant, that was able to make it through that program and be able to survive that transition.
Yes. When Coach Bryant came in, there were 27 seniors, if my memory serves me correctly. 17 of those were 2-year lettermen. When we came to Birmingham to get our senior watches after the season, to the best of my recollection, there was 8 of us. So
eight players.
8 players, 8 seniors.
So what was it that made it so difficult? Was it just the transition, the mental side, physical side, both, all of the above?
All of the above. The thing was that it really got intense. The Coach Bryant wanted to find out who wanted to play, and he wasn't any worse on the seniors than he was on anyone else. It was intense for everyone. When you went out to practice, you had something to do the whole time you were out there. When Whitworth was there, they practiced like they did in the 30s, or we did, and you would have maybe 2 teams going at each other and other people standing around. When Coach Bryant got there, there were like 7 to 8 different areas on the field, and you were designated to each one of those at some point during the afternoon. So the worst one was when you got to the last period and the time frame on it was unlimited.
Okay, so we're talking about that 1958 team. Walk us through, as a team, how you guys learned about Coach Paul Bear Bryant coming home to his alma mater from Texas A&M.
Pretty much like, as far as I know, like anybody else did. It was what we read in the papers and heard over the radio. We didn't have any advance notice from anybody that they were doing that or anything like that. We just, like I said, we learned when everybody else did.
So can you walk us through that initial meeting with Coach Bryant?
Well, as my memory serves me, everything was he was pretty matter of fact. He said the things that we were going to do, the way things were going to be, and write your mother and daddy. That was one of his keys at that time. And, he would say, I wish I could call mine, whatever. So anyway, but he just laid down the rules and what he expected. There was nothing really hard about what he said, but you had no doubt that he was not teasing. Everything he said, he was dead serious.
Well, and, Ken, we were talking with Joe Namath, I think it was last year, And one of the comments that came up, he said, the first time I ever met Coach Bryant, Howard Snellenberger's walking him up to him, and he said my first impression was, this is an extremely large individual with Coach Bryant.
Yes, he was. He could be a little intimidating that way, but that didn't affect us near as much as the intensity that he expected out of you. For instance, when we were practicing, you always had one eye on that tower. You wanted to know where he was, because if he came down off that tower, somebody was in trouble. So that was the biggest thing that I got out of that when he came. It was just that these are the rules. This is what you're going to have to do if you want to stay here and play. It wasn't brutal. Some people have tried to insinuate that, but it was not brutal. It was just tough. Long practices, intense practices, and lots of pressure. So you just either you wanted to stay there and play, or it wasn't worth it to you.
This is going to be a lot of fun. We're talking with Ken Roberts, which will be the honorary captain as we salute the 1958 60th anniversary team on Saturday prior to Arkansas State. Ken Roberts, along with Bobby Smith, will be the honorary captains, along with a lot of those teammates and coaches that will be returning here to the University of Alabama. Coach Stallings mentioned yesterday, he said, you could hear that chain rattle at that tower, and he said that the chain was the first alert system that Coach Bryant was coming down from the tower.
That one is new to me. I had not heard that one.
Okay. Well, now let me ask you about Coach Stallings. Having a chance to watch him, and that was his first year as a coach. Do you have any memories of Coach Stallings as part of that coaching staff in 1958?
I just remember that they were Junction boys, and we heard some of the stories about Junction from them, and those guys were tough. All the three that came back with him, and Coach Stallings was just a good guy. I don't mean he was easy if you were working under him where he was coaching, but he expected you to put it on the line all day, every day that you were out there. So I liked Coach Stallings very much.
And class individual. That's all you can say about Coach Stallings. And you could say a lot more, but I think you got to start there.
Amen.
We are talking right now to Ken Roberts, and I'm curious when they would tell these stories, because, we've all read the books and the movies of the Junction Boys. I mean, that had to be kind of scary to hear the stories of, Coach Stallings would share the story with us quite often. He said we left in 2 buses and we came back in 1 from Junction Boys. But, I mean, that would have to be a scary kind of story as he was telling the Junction stories coming out of that coaching staff.
Oh, absolutely. You just wondered how tough it was going to be. That was the real thing, because you did not really know. But once he got in there, and once Coach got in there and started setting up the training tables, the times that you had to work out, how long you worked out, how many days a week, all those kinds of things, you found out that absolutely it was a whole new ball game. The demands that were on you and what it was going to take mentally and physically for you to meet his standards.
Now, I've also been told that your son also played at the University of Alabama. When would he would have played here at Alabama?
Yeah, he was down there. He was a freshman, Coach Bryant's last year.
Okay.
And then he stayed down for 4 more years under
Coach Perkins.
Perkins, yeah, thank you. I sometimes have a little senior moment here with names.
Hey, what Coach Stallings said yesterday. He said, I hope we've got all name tags tomorrow. He said, but, he was talking about that. I mean, he was so excited yesterday to talk, just a chance to catch up. But I'm curious, when you watched everything, the foundation being presented from Coach Bryant, and then you watched him work his magic for 25 years and go through two different dynasties, winning all those championships, national titles, All-Americans. What kind of sense of pride did you begin to take in Alabama of watching, Coach Bryant work his magic here in T-Town, that you were a part of that initial class?
Well, it was great. There's no doubt about that. It was great as things went, as things progressed under there. But one of the things that meant so much to me was that even though we didn't have a great year in '58, we didn't get blown out by anybody either. We won more than we lost by one, and it was great that you could walk down the street again and feel pretty good about being on the Alabama football team. That was not the case for the 3 years before then.
Well, certainly, but you think about the tradition, because I've often said, and I know Coach Saban does as well, when you talk about the benefits of him arriving here in 2007, and now he's built this program back to where we belong. 5 out of the last 9 years, he's been a national champ. I don't know if all that would have been possible without all you guys that have been a part of Alabama history to build this program to where it is current day.
Well, you're too kind. What Coach Saban has done, to me, is incredible. If anybody had bet you that we'd be national champions 5 out of the 9 years, nobody would have believed that. Nobody. No team has ever come close to that.
I know they're different in so many different ways, but I'm curious the similarities that you see between Coach Saban and Coach Bryant from your perspective.
I would guess, now I haven't been that involved with Coach Saban at all, but just looking at his program, I think that the two things that they really have in common, one is that the discipline that they require. There's no doubt about that. Mentally and physically, you have to be disciplined to play under them. And the other thing is that the respect that I'm sure, I know we had for Coach Bryant, and I'm sure that the other players, the current players, have for Coach Saban. So those two things are absolutely just alike.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable when you think of what Coach Nick Saban, and I watch it here daily, and I listen to the things that he says, and I know being this is my alma mater as well, not from the football side, but just my school. I take a sense of pride of what Alabama's been able to accomplish. It just, you almost have to reach over and pinch yourself to even say that, what he's been able to accomplish. And, this year we're off to a pretty good start so far. I think this may be another championship caliber type football team if they can continue on the pace that they're currently on.
Amen. I think you're right. He gets good players and he knows how to develop them.
No doubt, man. This is a lot of fun. If I may ask, being a former Bryant player, what were you doing during the championships game just a few months ago? Because Coach Bryant probably instilled a lot of philosophies. Alabama's down, and you think about Coach Bryant, we got him right where we want him, and those type of quotes. What was your reaction at halftime, and then the celebration with the wonderful throw there at the end?
Well, the two things about that. One is that I was just amazed to watch them come back. It was like daylight and dark. The first half was just really discouraging, and then to watch them come back, it was amazing to me. It looked like two different teams. I really felt more than anything else at the end of the ball game for our kicker missing that field goal, because he had a chance to write his name in history for Alabama, and it just didn't work for him. But it all worked out in the end.
Hey, he got to celebrate as a national champ, and I'm sure a young man that has a jewelry store when you leave here. Let me ask you a final question. We're talking to Ken Roberts, which was part of Coach Bryant's inaugural class here at the University of Alabama, the 1958 reunion. He's going to be, along with his teammate Bobby Smith, and those 1958 members that are going to be returning here. 60th anniversary. Coach Stallings is going to be here. I believe the only two coaches that are still alive is it Dale Powell? Is that right? And Coach Stallings. So that'll be a lot of fun to see those guys here in Tuscaloosa. So Dale Powell and D. Powell, excuse me, and Coach Stallings. Bobby Smith's going to be here. But you played both ways, center and defensive line. And for those of us who were born, I was born in 78, speaking of the language of playing both ways would be very difficult. I mean, it's hard for me to even wrap my brain around playing on both sides of the football.
Well, of course, that's just the way it was then. So, there was no opportunity for a specialist particular. But the big thing is then the kids were not so big. They didn't carry so much weight, because the kind of physical conditioning you had to be in to play both ways and to play both ball games, or play a whole ball game, is a lot different, at least I believe, from the kind of physical conditioning that they do now.
Well, listen, I just want to say congratulations on returning 60th anniversary team 1958, and for all of us in Tuscaloosa, thanks again for helping us preserve this Alabama history. We appreciate the conversation here in Tuscaloosa. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.